Welcome to another tutorial with 3dsmax tools. Today we're going to be talking about SpaceWarps. Now SpaceWarps create like a force field that can deform objects and create effects like ripples, waves, wind, and so on. And we can simply get to them by going to the Create panel, and we'll drop down and we're actually going to go to the SpaceWarps category. Now, SpaceWarps are non-renderable objects, and that's because they actually affect objects. Now, whatever objects they're affecting will be renderable. Now, they kind of work somewhat like modifiers, except for modifiers affect the object they're applied to, whereas a space warp affects the whole world, right? Anything that maybe goes through this space warp could be affected, right? So there are a few categories of space warps here. Let's take a look at these. So our first drop down is forces. Now these are only used to affect particle systems. So you'd have to create a particle system and then you can apply a force to the particle system. Then we have deflectors, which these are used to deflect particles. And we have geometric deformable. These are used for geometry like objects. And we have modifier based, which these are space warp versions of object modifiers. So they affect objects as well. And then we have particles and dynamics, which this only contains the vector field space warp, which is dedicated for the Character Studio crowd simulations. So we're going to take a look at geometric deformable space warps. So the first thing that I'm going to do is move my plane back, and I'm going to turn on, make sure I'm at 0 on the timeline, and I'm going to do auto key. And I'm going to go forward in time to say 100, and I'm going to move it to the other side. And now we get this animation, so I'm going to turn off auto key. And I'm going to go about 50 halfway here where the plane is in the middle. And we're going to apply an FFD box, which is freeform deformation. I'm going to left click, drag out a grid here for this kind of area. And then I'll get the vertical of it to pop it up. And I just want it to be about yay high. We could use our other views here. So let's move this down. And we're going to change the dimensions here so the height, whoops, wrong one, width, nope, height, is a little bit taller than the plane at the moment. And use our top view here to kind of just center it on the plane. And we can shrink this to where it kind of fits the plane a little bit better. Width, there we go. Just a little bit of space. Then we can do our length here. Just want it right up to the wings. Then we're going to set our number of points for the cage. And so what I want to do, instead of a 4x4, we're going to just do a 3x3 and click OK. So now we have our cage, and we want to link this to our object when it flies through. We're going to use this cage here to deform it. So I'm going to do Alt-W, make this bigger here. So what we're going to do is go up here to bind to space warp. So we select that. Now we have to left click and drag on the airplane to the FFD. And then you can see we get the FFD binding modifier added to the plane. So we can hit W to go to our move tool. We're going to select the FFD box. And here we can drop down the control points. And now you can see, so the space warp has now been binded to the object. So now I'm going to select these control points on the top, and I can just squish them down, and I'm going to grab all these on the bottom and squish them up. And check this out. So now if we take a look at this, you can see that as it comes in, it literally warps in and goes out. And maybe what I should have done was just do it in the middle so it fades in better. So as it comes in, it warps into it. Yeah, that's looking cool. So it comes in, it's like just like that. One more time, just for good sakes. Yeah, we could just play that ever looping forever, and we have a space warp. And if we go to our display area here, we can actually turn off the space warps to hide. There we go. Now it's working. Okay. And that's kind of a quick rundown on the space warp. Alright, let's do a quick recap here of space warps. So I'm going to duplicate this plane, and I'm literally going to call it plane 2 copy. And I'm going to select this frame here and delete this frame. There we go. So you go to create, then you go to forces, geometric. I'm going to do this time bomb effect, and this one actually has some animatable portion to it. And so all you have to do is once you put a space warp, I then do the binding to whatever objects, whoops, wrong way, there we go, from the plane to the bomb space warp. And you can see by default it already has an effect already for it like dispersing. And we can literally, so you can see like the location, right? This is a world space modifier. You can just move it to wherever we want and we have a plane. So I really like this. I'm going to kind of put this right in the center. I really like just this look right here, man. I can create this cool effect and render it. But you can go into settings for the mesh bomb and change the fragmentation size. So we could randomize it, get minimum and maximum here. And we've got stuff like the gravity or the amount of chaos, seeding, kind of randomizing it. We also have strength. Right, and spin, so if you want to put some spin on it, that's really cool. And we can even have a fall off, but and so we're going to stop it right here. That looks good. So that's a good intro to space warps, and even little introduction to using them and changing the settings.